Mix red beans. Could this be a longevity remedy? When red beans are combined with carrots and tomatoes, the impact on health can be truly surprising. You may not believe it, but my grandmother is 97 years old and still very strong. She recently had a full health checkup and showed no signs of liver problems or physical weakness, simply because she has long made a habit of eating naturally red-colored foods. In this video, I'll share 3 of her longevity recipes. A red soup she uses to keep her liver healthy, a nourishing cake she often makes to strengthen the body, and a small tip she always uses when cooking beans to make them easier to digest. Before we begin, may God bless you and your family. And by the way, my grandmother also has a dog, and she seems to enjoy this dish too. Tip 1. A gentle red bean bowl. My grandmother always said the liver is one of the most important organs for keeping the body strong and balanced. But as people grow older, the liver slowly becomes weaker and more tired, which is why she often combined just 3 simple ingredients: red beans, tomatoes, and carrots. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene and natural antioxidants that help reduce inflammation. Carrots contain natural antioxidants that help protect liver cells from internal stress and oxidative damage. These compounds help the liver recover from daily strain and function more steadily. My grandmother always reminded us that we should eat foods with many different colors, because each color carries a special kind of nourishment the body needs. And she used red beans as an example, explaining that their deep red color comes from natural plant compounds and minerals that help nourish the blood and support the liver, especially as we grow older and the body no longer renews itself as easily. My grandmother once told me about an old friend of hers named Dr. John, a quiet doctor who had a strange habit that people often laughed at. He ate carrots every single day. He believed carrots helped protect the liver, reduce internal inflammation, support blood flow. He always said, "The more, the better, just give me more carrots." My grandmother had a special love for ripe red tomatoes because they always reminded her of a difficult time in her life when the economy fell into a deep recession and food was scarce. And she and my grandfather often had little more than tomatoes to eat almost every day. But she never spoke of that time with bitterness. Instead, she said that those hard years taught them how to lean on each other, how to share simple meals with gratitude, and how to love more deeply. Because when life stripped everything down to almost nothing, they learned to cherish each other more, to value small comforts. But back then, my grandmother never imagined that tomatoes would later be called a superfood for health. I often tease my grandmother and tell her that maybe the reason she's lived so long and stayed so healthy is because she ate so many tomatoes and carrots back in those years. And she would just laugh and shake her head, saying she never planned for longevity. She once shared a quiet secret with me and said, "My child, when you get older, the stomach doesn't digest food as well anymore, and the teeth become weaker, so chewing is harder than it used to be." And that was why she believed blending food was the best solution, because it makes digestion easier, reduces the burden on the stomach, and allows the body to absorb nutrients more easily. Orange is such a beautiful color because in nature it represents a group of powerful plant compounds which help protect cells from damage. My grandmother always reminded me to cook it over low to medium heat for about 15 minutes. Do not let it boil hard because high heat would slowly destroy the nutrients. And you can see here the color doesn't look very pretty because my filming skills aren't great. But in real life, the color turns into a beautiful red-orange glow, warm and comforting. It's worth trying at least once. When she cooked, she would pray to God. And she often reminded me of this verse, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. If I were to describe this dish while thinking of my grandmother, I would say it tastes like care that has been practiced for a lifetime. She used to tell me another quiet story about my grandfather, saying that because he ate this dish so regularly, his liver stayed remarkably healthy even as he aged. And over the years, no matter how many health checkups he went to, the doctors never found signs of fatty liver, hepatitis, or cirrhosis, which he never treated as a miracle or a promise, but simply as the result of many small, gentle habits repeated day after day. Tip 2. Soft steamed red bean treat. As the body grows weaker with age, many people don't lack food. They lack the key nutrients their bodies can no longer absorb easily. This soft, gentle steamed red beans was one of my grandmother's favorite ways to restore strength. Once the beans have finished soaking, I drain them well and place them straight into the blender. I add about 500 milliliters of plant-based milk. The amount can be adjusted depending on how many beans you're using. I blend everything until very smooth. The smoother the mixture, the softer and better the final cake will be. After blending, I pour the mixture into a large bowl. I add 4 grams of yeast and a small amount of honey to help the yeast activate more effectively. I stir gently until the yeast dissolves completely. Then, I slowly add 300 grams of flour, a little at a time, stirring continuously in one direction. The batter should be thick but smooth, not too dry, not too runny. By the way, where are you watching from? I'd really love to connect with you. Wishing you good health and peaceful days ahead. Once the batter is mixed, I cover the bowl tightly with plastic wrap and set it aside to ferment until it doubles in size. While waiting, I prepare a handful of raisins in a separate bowl. Raisins may be small, but they are nutrient-dense, providing natural energy, potassium for heart support, iron for circulation, and fiber that supports digestion. I also prepare some red dates. Red dates are highly nutritious and add both flavor and nourishment to soups and cakes. But remember, don't eat too much dried fruit. It contains natural sugars, and too much isn't good for your health. Enjoy it in moderation. By now, the batter has almost finished fermenting. When I remove the wrap, the batter has clearly expanded and is full of air pockets, like a honeycomb. I gently stir to release excess air. Then add the chopped red dates and raisins, mixing until everything is evenly combined. Next, I prepare the steaming mold. I brush a thin layer of oil over the bottom and sides, making sure to coat the corners well to prevent sticking. My grandmother used to remind me that eating carefully alone isn't enough for good health. She always said the body needs gentle movement too, especially in the morning, to wake up the blood and the mind. After that, she encouraged spending a little time in nature, even just standing quietly, to let the heart feel calmer and more balanced. And most importantly, she told me to spend as much time as possible with children and family. She said many books she read showed that people with happy, meaningful social connections often live several years longer. I bring water to a boil in the steamer, place the mold inside, cover tightly, and steam over high heat for about 40 minutes. When I finally open the lid, a rich, naturally sweet aroma fills the air. I remove the cake, let it cool slightly, loosen the edges, and turn it out of the mold. The bottom is beautifully smooth. I gently press the surface of the cake. If it springs back quickly, it's done. I cut it into small pieces for easier eating. The steamed bean cake is soft, fragrant, lightly sweet, and gently rich. The red dates and raisins add a pleasant sweet and tart balance. When pressed, the cake bounces back softly, showing how tender it is. This dish is especially suitable for older adults. It can be enjoyed as a nourishing breakfast, both filling and gentle. If there's any left, simply wrap it well and steam it again the next day. She often made this dish for the grandchildren at home, but she always said that as she got older, she couldn't eat too much food made with flour. Most of the time, she focused on green foods and orange one. This dish wasn't really for herself. She made it as a quiet way of caring for the family, a small reminder that love doesn't always come from what you eat, but from who you make it for. Tip 3. Freezing beans. Back then, I always hesitated to cook beans because they took so long to soften, sometimes needing hours of cooking. But ever since I learned this simple trick from my grandmother, freezing the beans first, they become softer, cook much faster, and are much easier to digest when eaten. When cooking, you can do it just like normal. Simply put the frozen beans straight into the pot without thawing first. In this video, I'm only cooking black beans, but the other two beans work the same way. And all three can be cooked faster using this method because freezing causes the water inside the beans to expand, gently breaking down their structure. So when they're cooked later, they soften more quickly, absorb heat more evenly, and require less cooking time while still keeping their natural nutrients. This bowl tastes deeply comforting and quietly rich, with the black beans offering a smooth, earthy depth, while the red dates melt into a soft, honey-like sweetness that rounds everything out, creating a warm, gentle flavor that feels nourishing rather than heavy. And as you eat it slowly, the warmth spreads through the body, leaving you feeling satisfied, steady, and well cared for from the inside. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on the channel.